am going to do an update on Wyatt because he is 3 years old now. That's crazy. How on earth did he get to be 3? His birthday was June 7th, so he's just a little over 3 years old. He's doing pretty good. He had his doctor's appointment on his birthday, which kind of stinks. But at least he didn't have any immunizations that were due at that point. So he didn't have to have any shots. Unfortunately, he did have to have some blood drawn. So he didn't totally get away from not having to deal with needles. He did pretty good with the blood draw. I had to kind of hold one hand, and then they held his other arm out in order to get the blood. He said ouchie when they first poked him, but other than that, he didn't complain, he didn't yell, cry, nothing. He just let them draw the blood and then asked for like 8 million stickers because he saw that they had Thomas stickers and the nurse upstairs had given him stickers for doing good at his appointment, and he was in sticker heaven and he was hoarding every sticker he could get his hands on. Plus they gave him a little ducky that he insisted was going to go to Adelia, which is very nice of him. But at his appointment, he did really well. What is he, like, I already forgot how much he weighs now, like 35 pounds. I mean, the kid's a moose. But he's pure muscle. The boy doesn't have a lick of fat on him. But he is just absolute and complete muscle. You can see, and I think I've said this before, when he, let's say, stands on his tippy toes, you can see the muscles in his calves flexing, and I mean, most 3-year-olds are jelly. They don't have a lot of muscle tone, and that's all Wyatt has. And he's always been really strong and able to climb on things, so his weight doesn't really surprise. I think it was 35.5 pounds. I don't remember now, but his weight doesn't totally surprise me. When you go to pick him up, it's like picking up a water buffalo. I mean, he's so heavy to me. I make Brian and Ethan do it most of the time because he's just, I think I got out of practice, you know, the end of my pregnancy with Adelia. I didn't really want to lift him because he was heavy and I was pregnant. And then after the C-section, I wasn't allowed to lift him. So we had to have a chair that could be like pulled up next to the changing table, and then he could climb onto the chair and then onto the changing table. And he still does that now, but it's because I just got used to it. But it, you know, it's nice that I don't have to pick him up. And then once I was healed from the C-section, I had that hernia surgery, and again I was on weight restriction and not allowed to pick him up. So we had to keep doing it that way, and now we're just used to him climbing on the chair and then climbing on to the changing table. We had to buy a new changing table because he climbs on everything, and he's so heavy and he's so strong that he broke it. He broke one of the shelves on it, so we had to get a new, bigger, sturdier, it's actually like a dresser that we're using as a changing table. So it works much better. He's short for his age and he's heavy for his age, but all my kids are short until they're older. Well, I guess Brian's the only one that's older. They're all very little babies. Normal, you know, decent-sized toddlers and preschoolers, and then apparently, you know, puberty hit Brian young at like 10, and they just shoot up. And I'm gonna have to put my sunglasses on. I feel bad, but anyway, height and weight were good. They're still following the curve that they expect on the growth chart, so the doctor wasn't worried at all. He's just a very active, muscular kid who is short like his mother. They tried to do a vision test. It didn't work very well because instead of answering what the pictures, I mean, he started out doing it. That's an apple, that's a house, that's a circle. But he got he got bored with those answers, and then it was, that's a train tunnel. That's the barn where we keep the tractors. That apple I'm going to feed to the cows. You know, it just, everything became a story to him instead of what shape it was. which is very typical of Wyatt. He's quite the good storyteller, so it does not surprise me at all that that was where it went. They attempted a hearing test too, and I will insert a picture of him from that hearing test because it's beyond hilarious. He did not want to participate. He was fine with the headphones being on his head. That didn't bother him. But as soon as they started beeping in his ears, he would get upset, and he didn't cry or yell or anything, but he would pout, and he'd put his head down and he'd So you could tell when he would hear the beeping because the lip would come out, and he would pout. But he wouldn't tell you that he heard the beep. And so the nurse is like, okay, he's not going to participate, that's fine. And she asked him, did you hear the beeps? And he said, I heard the beeps. I didn't like the beeps. So, yeah, you know, he does hear. He heard him fine. He just didn't want to participate appropriately the way we'd asked him to. But oh well, he's 3. Other than that, he did go to the appointment. He talks to anybody and everybody. He is so very much like his Grandpa Larry. It's insane. You can tell that is definitely his grandson. He is not afraid of anybody. He will talk to anybody and everybody. He is everybody's friend. He especially likes the ladies and has no problem going up, starting conversations with little old ladies in, you know, the grocery store and stuff. I have trouble getting him to not be quite so friendly to everybody. We were driving over by the high school that my husband and I went to. We were stopped at the stoplight, and there was a girl walking from the school, and she was stopped waiting for the light to change, and Wyatt has an obsession with having his window open, and I give in most of the time as long as it's not bothering Adelia. So I had the window open for him. Excuse me. And this girl, and I didn't think about it until he started hollering. Next thing you know, he's, hey, hi. He's hanging out the window as much as he possibly can from his car seat. He's hollering at this girl, hi, how are you? Hello. The poor thing, I felt so bad for her. I mean, I'm sure if she'd realized it was a 3-year-old kid, she probably would have just laughed. But as far as she knew, there was some weirdo hanging out a window waving and yelling at her. Poor thing. But that's Wyatt. That's the kind of stuff he does. He's very outgoing. He's very high energy. Very hyper. He's very strong and able to climb on anything and everything. We recently discovered that he can stretch high enough now to open the back door of my husband's truck. And, you know, it's an F-150. It's a pickup. It's, you know, pretty high off the ground. I have to hoof myself into that vehicle. And Wyatt managed to open the back door and climb in, and he had been playing in the dirt, and he just kind of exploded. It was like he went in there and went poof, because there was just a layer of dust everywhere. It wasn't even like there were handprints or footprints that he had left. It was just a layer of dust. And it's just, oh, it's crazy. I've seen him, if we leave the tailgate to my truck open while unloading groceries or something, I have seen him actually climb in the back of my Explorer and then climb all the way up to the front, where he proceeds to turn on every light and turn signal and everything he can get his hands on. So vehicles now have to be locked at all times, because the second you turn your head, he will be in your vehicle and doing anything and everything he can reach, which is pretty much everything. He wants to spend a ridiculous amount of time outside, more than we do. He loves going outside with Dad to do chores. He could spend all day on tractors and the Rhino and riding with Dad in the skid steer. He wants nothing to do with the inside, if he at all possible. He will be outside as much as you allow him to, and on every piece of equipment, and I'm sure he will be driving them long before I'm okay with him driving them. So he's just now starting to get to the point where he likes books. And I bought him some Thomas the Train books for his birthday, and he's been asking to read those at night when we get home. When I get home from work, and when he goes to bed, he's been asking to read those. He watches some TV. He likes Daniel the Tiger, Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood, whatever. He loves Caillou. I hate Caillou. He loves Caillou. He obviously loves Thomas the Train, Thomas and Friends. He watches that constantly. Everything he owns is Thomas. He's got a billion trains and a train blanket, a train pillow. Yeah. It doesn't even have to be Thomas. It just has to be trains or tractors. He's not really into Sesame Street anymore. He doesn't really care about that like he did, you know, a year ago. Elmo was his world. This year, Thomas is his world. And it's... he doesn't say Thomas the Train. He says Tom Train. And it's hilarious. Now I catch myself saying Tom Train all the time. But he'll eat pretty much anything you put in front of him. However, he prefers chicken. Any kind of chicken. Doesn't matter. He just wants chicken. He has cut massively back on his milk consumption, which is good because we had problems with his iron being too low. And that was why he had the blood draw, was to check his iron levels again. And thankfully, we cut back on the milk and we increased foods with iron, and we started having him drink these V8 juices that are high in iron. So he either drinks milk, one of the V8 juices, or water. And that seems to have made a huge difference and got not only his iron levels in general, but his stores of iron levels are back up where they're supposed to be, so that's excellent. His PFAPA is better. He had like a 6-month period where he had no episodes. He is back to having episodes probably about once a month. However, we've got the prednisone to give to him now, and as soon as his temp hits 102, we give him the medication. And it used to be 3 hours, but we're actually about down to 2 hours now. It kicks in, the fever's gone. He's still tired and a little whiny, but other than that, he's fine. He's back to normal. There's no vomiting anymore. Thank God. I couldn't handle the vomiting, but he does not throw up at all anymore. The fever is very quickly kicked in the butt and gone. He's over it within a day. Well, you know, that's versus the 5 days we used to deal with it, so that has definitely been an improvement. He should outgrow it sometime within the next year. The episodes should stop completely. If they don't and they continue and the medicine stops working, we do have the option to have his tonsils removed, and for most kids that will solve the problem completely. But we didn't want to put him through surgery if we didn't have to. Surgery was kind of our last resort. If nothing else works and he's still suffering, and we're obviously suffering if he's suffering, then we would do the surgery. But at this point anyway, that's not a step we need to take, and he's doing fine with just the medication. It's just nice to have a game plan. We know exactly what to do and when to do it and when to expect improvement, and now know what, you know, if things don't get better, we have options. And it's just nice to know what we're doing and where we're going with it. So I think that's about all I got to say about Wawa. He's a good kid. He's hyper, which can be a little bit difficult. He adores his baby sister and wants to play with her constantly. He's just bad at realizing she is not a 35-pound 3-year-old who can withstand some of his play. So I spend quite a bit of my day yelling at him to get off his sister. Yes. He's just too rough with her most of the time. But he loves her, and that's awesome. And I'm really glad that he loves her that much, so. Alright, my thing is beeping at me, and I don't know why, so I better stop. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you're new, please feel free to subscribe. Like this video, share it if you will, and I will see you guys later. Bye.